እንዴት ናችሁ? ሰላም ነው? ይሰማችሁ እንደሆነ ይሰማችኋል?
ሰላም ነው ዶክተር፣ ሰላም ነው። ይሰማል
ዶክተር።
በጣም ጥሩ እንደው የኔትወርክ ነገር መብራት ኔትወርክ ለካ ወደ ክፍለ ሀገር ወጣ ስንል ብዙ ነገር ነው ያለው። በጣም ይቅርታ ክላሳችንን እንጀምራለን። በባለፈው ሳምንት ስለ ፐብሊክ አድሚኒስትሬሽንስ ተምረን ነበረ። ስፔሲፊካሊ ፐብሊክ አድሚኒስትሬሽን ለምን እንደሚጠቅም፣ ስኮፑ የቱ ጋር እንደሆነ፣ ኤሌመንት ኦፍ ፐብሊክ አድሚኒስትሬሽን እንደማን እንደሆኑ እነዚህን ተወያይተን ነበረና እንደው እንደ ሪቪዥን ስኮፑ እነማን ይመስላችኋል? እስቲ ስኮፕ ኦፍ ፐብሊክ አድሚኒስትሬሽን እስከየት ድረስ ነው? እስቲ ምን ስራዎች ናቸው ፐብሊክ አድሚኒስትሬሽን ስር የሚካተቱት? እንደው እስቲ እንደ ሪቪዥን ከናንተ እንስማ እስቲ። ስኮፕ ኦፍ ፐብሊክ አድሚኒስትሬሽን ሲባሉ እነማንን ያካትታሉ? ማለት ፐብሊክ አድሚኒስትሬሽን ማለት መንግስት ያወጣውን ፖሊሲ፣ ስትራቴጂ፣ ፕሮግራሞችን ለማስፈጸም የህብረተሰቡን ፍላጎትም ለማሳካት የሚጠቀምበት ቱልስ ነው። ፐብሊክ አድሚኒስትሬሽን ማለት ከዚህም በፊት እንዳልኳችሁ ባክቦን ኦፍ ገቨርንመንት ነው ማለት ነው። ፐብሊክ አድሚኒስትሬሽን በጣም ወሳኝ የሆነ የመንግስት አካል ነው። ለምን ብንል መንግስት የሚያወጣውን ፖሊሲ፣ ስትራቴጂ ወደ ተግባር ለመተግበር የሚጠቀምበት ቱልስ ፐብሊክ አድሚኒስትሬሽን ስለሆነ ፐብሊክ አድሚኒስትሬሽን በጣም ወሳኝ የሆነ የመንግስት አካል ነው፣ ወይም ደግሞ ቱልስ ነው። መንግስት ፖሊሲዎችን፣ ስርዓቶችን፣ ስትራቴጂዎችን ለማስፈጸም የሚጠቀምበት ሚንስ ወይም ሜካኒዝም ነው። ይሄንን ነገር አይተናል። በባለፈው ሳምንት ካየናቸው ጉዳዮች ውስጥ ስኮፕ ኦፍ ፐብሊክ አድሚኒስትሬሽን የሚባል፣ ኢምፖርታንሲ ኦፍ ፐብሊክ አድሚኒስትሬሽንስ፣ ኤሌመንት ኦፍ ፐብሊክ አድሚኒስትሬሽንስ የሚባሉትን ጉዳዮች አይተን ነበረ። እስቲ ከእናንተ እንደው እንደ ሪቪዥን የሚሆነን ስኮፕ ኦፍ ፐብሊክ አድሚኒስትሬሽን ስር ይሄ ማለት ፐብሊክ አድሚኒስትሬሽን የሚሰራቸው ስራዎች የሚያካትታቸው ጉዳዮች እንደማለት ነውና ስኮፕ ኦፍ ፐብሊክ አድሚኒስትሬሽንስ እነማን ናቸው? እስቲ ስኮፑ ስኬት ይደርሳል ብላችሁ ታስባላችሁ? እስቲ ከእናንተ ልስማ። What are the scope of public administration, or how you can explain about the scope of public administrations? What do you think? Let me get idea from you. Okay, Ayman, I think you missed the previous class, right? You were not here, Ayman.
Yeah, I missed the previous class.
So have you watched the record video?
Not yet.
What about the PowerPoint?
The PowerPoint, yeah, I have seen it.
Yeah, very good. So what are the scope of public administration? The scope means, the coverage of public administrations. What are the areas that public administration touch? What are they? It's go like this. It's a start from street cleaning up to, space exploration. Maybe space exploration is the highest level of public administration or the service that we are expecting from the government. And the street cleaning maybe the basic one. It's the fundamental one. All these things are included under the scope of public administration, right? Public administration is very essential part of government, because any idea that the government plan or any strategy, policy, program actually transformed into practice through public administration. Public administration is very essential for economic development. Public administration is very essential for welfare service. Public administration is very essential in every areas, right? because of this, public administration is very important. What are the elements of public administration? Element of public administrations. The part and the parcel of public administration. What the public administration contain? Let me go for Zeman. Zeman, what do you think? What are the elements of public budgeting, personnel, any element that are very important for the function of public administration? Element of public administration or environment of public administration. What are they? Yeah, who can help him with that? Element of public administration. Nathan, what do you think? Nathan, what are the element of public administration?
Hello, doctor.
Yes, please. ይሰማል አይሰማችሁም እንዴ? ይሰማችኋል?
ሄሎ።
አቤት አቤት።
ይሰማኛል።
አለምነሽ እስቲ
አዎ ዶክተር አለምነሽ።
ኤሌመንት ኦፍ ፐብሊክ አድሚኒስትሬሽን የሚባለው እነማን ናቸው? ኤሌመንት ኦፍ ፐብሊክ አድሚኒስትሬሽን
ፕላኒንግ፣ ኦርጋናይዚንግ፣ ፕላኒንግ።
Very good.
Staffing.
Yeah, all of them are
directing, coordinating.
Excellent. Very good. So these are some of the concepts that we have seen in our previous class. In our today class, we are going to see the next chapter, which is comparative public administration's concept and approach. Under comparative public administration, as the name indicates, comparative means is about comparing and contrasting public administration, system of public administration, procedure of public administration, process of public administration, anything that related to public. It's about comparing public administration through or across different culture, across different society, across different country, or even across different continent. So that is what we call it comparative public administration. These things help us to understand how public administration in different country perform, right? How public administration in different country function. And if we know how public administration in different country work, then it will help us to learn something from them, right? With experience sharing, we can maximize their strong side, and then we can make or we can provide excellent public service for our public at large, right? So therefore, comparing and contrasting the strong side, the weakness, how they provide public service for their public at large is very essential. So here in chapter 2, we are going to see comparative public administration, the science of comparing and contrasting, the procedure of comparing and contrasting, the approach of comparing and contrasting public administration at large. So we are going to see this thing in this chapter. And learning outcome of this chapter, at the end of this chapter, I believe you will learn the following learning objective or learning outcome. The first thing is you will define and explain the concept of comparative public administration through comparing the meaning given by different scholars about comparative public administration in diverse contexts. Of course, different scholars define, the comparative public administration in different ways. Some of them actually see, or compare and contrast the way public administration provide through different culture. Some of them through different countries, some of them through different institutions. And therefore, we are going to see the definition provided by different scholars on the comparative public administration. Then at the end of this lesson, I believe you will define and you will explain the concept of comparative public administration in different ways. Even you can differentiate which definition of comparative public administration is the best one. And we will even make that decision. So at the end of this lesson, I believe you will learn about these things. Second, you will describe the scope of comparative public administration and examine the issue included in comparative public administration that differ with other similar fields. A scope of comparative public administration. In first chapter, we have seen the scope of public administration. Now here, we are going to see the scope of comparative public administration. Therefore, when we compare and contrast, when we systematically evaluate public administration in different countries, through different cultures, through different criteria, then we need to know even the scope, to what extent it will go, to what are the areas that comparative public administration will cover. These are the things that we are going to see, and at the end of this lesson or this chapter specifically, you will learn the scope of comparative public administration. You will describe, you will clearly explain the scope of comparative public administration and the area that this comparative public administration will touch. And the third learning outcome that I will expect at the end of this lesson that you will learn is that critically analyze the purpose and the relevancy of comparative public administration for public and private organization, and demonstrate the theoretical aspect of comparative public administration learned in both type of organization. Here, the main point is the purpose of comparative public administration. What is the reason that we need to know doing these things? What is the reason of doing comparative public administration? We already defined what comparative public administration is. It's about comparing and contrasting, the way public administration work in different world, in America, in Europe, in Africa, in Asia, in Australia, wherever it is. It's about comparing and contrasting how things is going in public administration in different countries. Then even what is the purpose? Why we need to do it, right? What is the advantage? What is the relevancy? The benefit of doing comparative public administration. The fourth thing is examine the historical evolution of comparative public administration globally and compare its history development across different countries, such as comparative public administration developed and developing countries, to get lesson and apply at national context. This is also very important. Evolution of comparative public administration globally, how it comes, right? That is very important because history is very important because it helps us to understand the concept of this comparative public administration from its grassroots, from its beginning, right? And how, if we know how it comes, then we can know the current status, and even we can forecast what will come tomorrow, right? That is very essential. And therefore, we will learn about the evolution of comparative public administration globally and compare its historical development. And the last learning outcome that I expect that you will learn at the end of this lesson is evaluate the different approach of comparative public administration and critically compare how each approach differ and applied in public sector. Approach of comparative public administration. Approach. There are like 5 approach of comparative public administration, and you will evaluate which approach is the best one. Which approach? Historical approach, cultural approach, institutional approach, and there are many, there are 5 in number, and then which approach is the best one? You will evaluate, or you will develop the skill that will help you to evaluate, to assess, or to pinpoint the best approach of comparative public administration. This is learning outcome that I expect at the end of this chapter you will grasp this objective. Therefore, when you read this PowerPoint, after you read the reader and all those things, that module, and then I expect you need to come back to this learning outcome and you need to evaluate yourself. You need to make professional judgment whether you really get this learning outcome or not. Therefore, this is a standard for you to check yourself. Before you do some exercise, before you sit for any kind of assessment, it's good to read the material first, come back to this learning outcome, check or evaluate yourself whether you can or whether you get this learning outcome or not. Learning method, as usual, we'll have some lecture and a presentation. We will have some reading assignment and concept notes, reviews. We will have some group discussion as usual, reflective learning exercise, and we'll have even see some organizational visit. We will visit some in the coming times. Some public institutions, right? Different public institutions. Even we can make comparative public administration, not across the country, but across the institution, right? We have different public institutions. We have different government organizations, right? Comparing and contrasting how they are doing. Which, for example, if I give you the chance to kind of brainstorming question, which public institutions at this time from your examination or from your views, according to your views, that serve the public at good quality? For example, if I ask you this question, which public institution in our country, in Ethiopia, that actually provide public service at good quality? Which public institution make you happy simply? In which public institution you can take as a model for others? These things will help us even to go tomorrow there and check how they are doing things, and then we'll go to another public institution which they are not good in providing their service or what is expected from them, and then we compare and contrast. Maybe, who knows, at the end of our visit, we may recommend some kind of policy idea for them to improve. So if I give you the chance, which public institutions are doing good and which public institutions really need to improve themselves? Randomly. This is from your angle. Let me ask randomly. Jonas, what do you think? Jonas. What do you think, Jonas? Which public institution are working good? Which public institution? One public institution. Jonas, what do you think? Zaman, what do you think? Let us from any public institution we have in Ethiopia, any ministry office or office at the city level, which office is doing their job excellently, the best one, and which is not doing what is expected from them up to the standard? For example, this is your view. There is no right and wrong answer. There is no way that you also no one asks you, right? This is your view. So if you're not happy to some public institutions on the way they are doing their jobs, you can say this institution needs to get improved. They need to improve their service or the way they are doing. You can say like that. No one asks you. This is just for learning purpose, and it is also your own views. Your own views. You can, okay, let's go for Radiate. Radiate, what do you think? Which public institution are working their job very well?
Maybe Ethio Telecom, I think.
Ethio Telecom, very good.
It's a public, right?
Yes, they are public. Ethio Telecom is public. It's a government-owned institution.
Yeah, but definitely not Kabale and Gabiut.
Yeah. Those organizations. Yes, very good. Very good. So, Radiate mentioned that revenue office, right? They are not doing their job very well. And Ethio Telecom, she said they are doing their job very good. So, according to her view, Ethio Telecom is the model institutions in terms of providing their service up to the standard. This is their views, okay? Ethio Telecoms, they have a lot of customers most of the times, right? That is their views. I will not agree with Ethio Telecom, for example. That is completely their views. What about Root? Root, what do you think? Which institutions are working their job very well and which institution needs to get improved? Root.
Okay, so hello everyone. So I can say that I don't agree on the Ethio Telecom service, but I can say that there is a new organization that's named MESOB, and then I think that is the most effective and productive institution I ever had. So I went last week to check my passport, and their service, their customer handling is really good. So I can say MESOB, but Ethio Telecom is the one who needs more attention.
All right, very good. Very good. Okay, what about institutions that need some type of improvement?
Okay, I can say ኢትዮ ቴሌኮም፣ ቀበሌ፣ ገቢዎች።
All right, very good, very good. Devela, what do you think? You raised your hand. Very good.
ኦኬ ታንክስ ኢፍ የሚሰማ ከሆነ አመሰግናለሁ።
ያ ይሰማል።
ያ ለእኔ የሚመስለኝ አይ ቲንክ ኢትዮጵያን ኤርላይንስ ይመስለኛል።
ያ very good. ያ
ሪዝኖቹ ደግሞ እነዚህ ናቸው። የመጀመሪያው የራሳቸው የሆነ ጋይድላይን አላቸው የሚመሩበት፣ እንዲሁም ደግሞ ወርኪንግ ካልቸራቸው ራሱ የተለየ ነው። እንዲሁም ደግሞ ወርከሮቹ እንዳለ ዲሲፕሊንድ ናቸው፣ ስታንዳርድ ነው የሚከተሉት እንጂ እንዴት ነው እንደ ሌላው መስሪያ ቤት ዝምድና ወይም ትውውቅ የሚባል ነገር አይሰራም። እዛ የሚሰራው ሲስተም ብቻ ነው። ስለዚህ ኢትዮጵያን ኤርላይንስ
Excellent, excellent. It's good views, it's good recommendations. So we'll take this institution as a sample, and maybe next times we'll go there, maybe to Telecom or Meso, and we'll see what they are doing, and then we'll go to the Kabale, and then we'll know that revenue organization, and we'll recommend our suggestion, and maybe they will get improved. So I just thank you very much for your engagement, for your participation. Thank you. So let's continue. Then the other issue is learning method. Learning method, as usual, this is learning method, assessment method, cues and short tests, individual assignments and presentations, group work and presentations, individual written assignment. Today I will give you individual written assignment, and then you will have a presentation, the second individual written assignment. These are some of the assignments that I will use. And another thing is meaning and the scope of comparative public administration. Meaning and the scope. Here are some brainstorming questions. As usual, when we talk about brainstorming question, there is no right and wrong answer. Rather, what I need is your engagement still, your participation. So as usual, I expect your active participation. What is the meaning of comparative public administration? How do you understand the concept of comparative public administration? Is your understanding on the concept of comparative public administration is similar or differ with your peer reading? Before you read this module, or before you attend this class, or even before you, in case if you have already reviewed these materials, before you read this material, how you define the concept of comparative public administration, and whether just we need to know whether whether there is some similarity or some difference on the way you are actually define, or the concept of comparative public administration before you get you read these materials, right? So we want to know that thing, so you can engage, you can participate. So let me give a chance. Here is the question. So as usual, your active engagement is very important. Your active participation has value, as I told you. So who will respond to one of these questions? You can respond to one of these questions. Okay. As usual, who is the first to respond to this question? Let me ask randomly. I will try my best to give a chance for all of you. Al-Mahi, what do you think? Al-Mahi, what do you think? All right, let's go to another person. Ayman, do you have any idea about comparative public administration before? Just actually the name by itself is so indicative, right? You can understand what comparative public administration, because just by looking these things you can guess, right? You can guess, I hope. So what do you think, Ayman? What is the meaning of comparative public administration for you? You can reflect back what I have said already if you want. That's also correct. Ayman, are you there? Buruk, what do you think? Buruk, Ayman, in case you are talking, you are muted. Okay, Buruk, you can go ahead. The background voice is too much. Buruk, oh, you have a mic related. Yeah, I think you have mic related issues. All right, Buruk. Kulang, are you still today also in the library? Kulang, what do you think? Do you have any idea? Yeah.
That's where I used to attend. I'm always in library.
You are in library today?
Yeah.
Oh, so okay, just follow us. Megarsa, what do you think? Megarsa. Megarsa, what do you think? Yes?
Yes. Someone?
Yes, it's someone.
I think comparative public administration is because many comparative public administration is in the world or in the country.
ምን አልክ መገርሳ? ድምፅ ትንሽ የመራቅ ስሜት አለው። ትንሽ ሩቅ ነው።
ኮኔክሽን አስቸጋሪ ነው አካባቢያችን።
Yes, connection ችግር ሊኖር ይችላል። Okay, thank you. How do you understand the concept of comparative public administration? Let's go for Ruth. You can respond to one of these questions.
Okay, so that I can say comparative is comparing the comparative administration system across a country or across the culture.
Very good, excellent. Let me go for Tamazgan. What do you think, Tamazgan? Do you have any idea, additional views on the concept of comparative public administration? Do you have any idea before you read this material about comparative public administration? Tamazgan. Yeah, who is talking? Yeah, Alamnesh. Very good, Alamnesh, please.
Hi, teacher. Maybe I think different comparative public administration, different administrative system in the different country, understanding similarity difference.
Exactly. Very good. So more or less, you have the idea at a brainstorming question. You have idea on what the comparative public administration is and those things. That is excellent. Now let's go to the discussion concerning the definition of comparative public administration. So comparative public administration is a branch of public administration that compare administrative system across countries and across culture. You see, it is a part of public administration that actually compare and contrast. How public administration work in different countries, in different culture, across different religion, for example, even across different religion. Maybe the way the public administration serve the public may be different from across different religion. We don't know, right? Across different culture, across different norms, across different values, across different countries, even across different continents. If you see public administration in America and in Africa, They are completely different, right? Maybe the public administration in more advanced country are more effective, more efficient than the public administration in developing country, right? Their work culture, their norms, the way they do things, the way they see things, even the way they manage resource is different, right? It is different. Therefore, comparative public administration is about comparing how public administration in different country works. Knowing this thing is very important because we can learn from them, right? One country can learn from other countries if they have good experience, right? If they don't have good experience, maybe they can give some kind of recommendation, some kind of lesson. They can share some kind of lesson with other countries. Therefore, knowing how public administration provides service in different countries across different culture is very important. And comparative public administration is a science that deals about these things. So it examines similarity and the differences in structure, in process, in behavior of public officials. You see, it examines the similarity as well as the differences. What is the similarity of public administration in different countries? What is the differences? What make public administration in different countries more effective? Is it the structure? Is it the procedure? Is it the behavior of public servant? So answering this question is so essential as a policy maker, as a decision maker, as a researcher, whatever it is, right? It is very important because we can learn, right? We can learn from each other. So comparative public administration is a science that examines similarity and the differences in the way public administration perform across different countries, specifically in terms of structure, in terms of process, in terms of behavior, right? We see the similarities and the differences. And this thing is so important. What is the objective of doing so? What is the reason that we need to do or we need to know the similarity and the difference? We can list out many reasons, but the best one is the aim is to understand why some system perform better than the other. You see, as a scholar, you see, if we want to know why some public institution work better than the other, right, we need to do comparative public administration. Therefore, comparative public administrations, we do the comparative public administration in order to understand why some system perform better than the other. That is the only reason, right? Why they perform better than the other. Then we can give some kind of policy recommendation for the decision maker, for the leader of those countries in order to improve, right? In order to make their public service much better. The focus is cross-cultural and cross-national analysis to improve governance. That is the reason. The main target that we need to do comparative public administration is to improve governance, to improve the public service that we provide. Of course, public administration, as I told you, is one of the tools for governance, one of the tools that the government use to respond to the public need, to solve public problem. You see, public administration is one of the tools that the government use to handle, to solve, public problem, social problem, economic problem, health problem, whatever problem it is, right? We use public administration as a tools for governance, to lead, to govern, right? To lead. And therefore we do comparative public administration to improve governance. We can say like that. That is the end target. That is the end goal. Maybe to learn, it is something. Maybe to improve, it is something. Lastly, to improve governance. You see, to improve governance. And the other definition of comparative public administration, different scholars actually define public administration in different ways. For example, Nimrod say like comparative public administration is the study of public administration across countries, across different countries, right? For example, if you want to see public administrations in South Korea and in Ethiopia and in South Africa and in Nigeria and in Ghana and in Sudan, for example, then we want to get how public administration work in these countries, right? So this is like comparative public administrations across different countries. Then we will maximize the good quality from each institution, right? We can maximize. This is about these things in the last, at the end, help us to standardize public service. You see, doing comparative public administration help us to standardize, public service, to standardize. You see, to get the best way to do things in public administration. The other scholars, Jackson's, define comparative public administration as cross-cultural comparison of administrative structure and process. This one is cross-cultural. Across culture, our work culture is also different, right? Not only the basic culture we have, even the work culture we have is different. Therefore, studying cross-cultural comparison of public administration is very important. It's very important, and that things will help us even to learn the same thing, to learn the best lessons. The third scholar says comparative public administration or defined in these ways. Jong Jun, he defined comparative public administration as the study of administration with cross-national focus, cross-country, cross-national focus. The third group or the fourth group of scholars that we actually categorized under comparative administration group. There are different scholars that contributed for the development of comparative administration group that we will see in the coming slides. About comparative administration groups. This group, scholars in these groups define comparative public administration in these ways. It is systematic study of political system to develop universal theories. This is one is the best one, maybe. It is the systematic study of political system to develop universal theories. We may not have a theory for comparative public administrations, right? Scholars, researchers, scientists want to develop the best theories, universal theories, not a specific institution theory or a specific organization theory or a specific country theories. For example, that one of the common limitations when we study about theory is that the theory that actually developed in the Western world, for example, because the Western countries are more advanced countries. The theory that developed in those countries cannot be easily localized or contextualized for developing countries. One of the limitations that we talk when we review different literature concerning theory is that the theory that work in different countries, in Western world, for example, cannot be applied for developing countries. It cannot. One size fits all can't work, right? The theory that developed in the other country cannot directly be applied in the developing country. That is one of the limitations. But if we do comparative public administration from the beginning, before we start developing the theory, you see, we know what is going on in developing country. We know what's going on in advanced country. You see, then we can develop universal theory, the theory that can apply for all world. That is what the comparative administration group do or plan to do. The other scholar says it is systematic cross-cultural comparison of the structure, the institution, and the process. You see, when we compare, what we compare? If I say the way they do things, this is too general. You see, the way they perform, that is too general. The way they perform, that is not too specific. We need to make it too specific. We can compare the structure of public institutions or public administration, the institutions, the system. When we say institution, commonly institution means organization most of the time. But an institution, on the other way, it is a system. An institution means a system. Therefore, we actually compare and contrast, and we can assess. We can make the comparison of the institution, means we can make the comparison of the system. The system, how, for example, to get some service, there is procedure. That procedure is a system. That is an institution. That is an institution. And the process is the step that you need to pass through, the process that you need to follow. That is the process. Therefore, we need to compare and contrast systematic cross-cultural comparison of the structure, the institution, and the process, according to Maru. And the last scholar is Rix. He is one of well-known scholar when we come to comparative public administration, and Rix defined comparative public administration in these ways. It is a focus on empirical, comparative public administration focus on empirical, ecological, and or the definition of Rix for comparative public administration actually focus on empirical, ecological, and universal study of administration. When we say empirical, it is not like the usual old style, rather it is empirical, based on the data, based on observation, based on some systematic analysis and examination. Empirical. Ecological, this one in a sense, when we actually during the old time, when we talk about public administration or comparative public administration, they highly focus on the structure or the rule and the regulation. But when we say ecological, it should include the environment of public administration, all the environment of public administration. That is ecological. Environment. Environment in a sense, environment of public administration, as already mentioned by Alamnesh, it includes different, aspects or different elements. Element of public administration. All elements of public administration become environment of public administration. All elements of public administration are the things that should be included in public administration. In order to provide some service, we need staff, we need budget, we need to plan, and those things are there. Those are elements of public administration. And all those things can be considered as what? Environment of public administration. In the environment of public administration, there are something that positively influence the target of that public administration, and there are something that may negatively influence. There is push as well as pull factor. Positive and the negative factor should be there, and those things as a whole, we call them environment of public administration. And the third thing, that's the Rix definition for public administration, comparative public administration talk, is that universal. It's not country focused, it's not institution focused, rather universal comparative public administration, a public administration that can work for whole. You see, from this picture, you can see cross-cultural comparisons, cross-cultural comparison of comparative public administration. The comparative public administration is cross-cultural comparison. How public administration work in Africa, how public administration work in Arab countries, how public administration work in Asian country and in European country. That's all what we are going to see. Trends in comparative public administration according to Rix, as I already told you. Trend 1, the first trend, shift from normative approach. Normative approach is based on value and ideas to empirical approach based on observation and data. That is the shift from the normative approach to empirical approach. That is the first phase. The second phase or the second trend is a shift from ideographic focus to universal. Ideographic in a sense, the study of individual organization or study of individual institution, to universal general theories applicable across country. Now it's not only for Western world, it's not only for one specific institution, but it is about comparing that can also work for the universe, for the general, right? For general. So this is the second trend or the second phase of comparative public administration. And the third trend is public administration study moved from isolated non-ecological description to scientific, comparative, and ecological analysis. So this one is also very broad and very inclusive. During the old time, the way we do comparative public administration is just for specific organization, for a specific institution, for a specific country. That is isolated. Non-ecological, it only focuses on rules or efficiency or productivity. That's not good. That's not inclusive. Rather, we need to include even all the environment of public administration. So nowadays, public administration include scientific, comparative, and ecological analysis. So this is the third phase of the comparative public administration trends. And this one is Rick's. Actually, he has a book, Comparative Public Administration. If you want, you can explore this book and you can get it online and you can read more. As I told you, in order to get the idea or the concept that you need to have in this chapter courses, first read the PowerPoint. Then even we have a record for this thing, watch it, and then read the modules, and then you can go to the textbook, and then you can go to the additional reference book if you have a time, right? But this PowerPoint and then module and that video record are very basic. These three things you should read it before you sit for any kind of assessment. So according to Hedy, there are 5 key motivating concerns of comparative public administration. The motivating concern, the thing that we need to do comparative public administration, the end goal that we want to achieve through doing comparative public administration. That is 5 motivating concerns. And these 5 motivating agenda actually recommended by Hedy, this person. The first motivating concern is search for theories. That is the main reason we need to do comparative public administration is to have universally applicable theory of comparative public administration. It develops general principles to explain administrative system. General principle. The principles are there, but it should be general. That means it should be the principle that can be applicable for many worlds, for all countries in this world. It must be universal, not specific country, not country specific, not institution specific. Search for theory is the first motivating concern of comparative public administration. The second one is practical application. Practical application. That is about improving governance. The main reason that we need to do public administration is to improve governance. So improve real world public sector performance, and governance is the second motivating factors to do comparative public administration. The third one is influence of comparative politics. That means draw some kind of insight from political system and their comparison, some kind of lesson. It's about learning some kind of lesson, some kind of insight from this comparison. The fourth one is administrative law tradition. It's about administering through what? Through laws. Administering through what? Not in random ways, not in some subjective ways, but through laws. So this is guided by legal frameworks and institutional rules. And the fifth motivating concern for doing comparative public administration is problem-solving focus. Problem-solving focus. This means it is obvious these motivating concerns are actually interrelated. They are not explicitly differ from each other. Somehow they are interrelated. Problem-solving focus is about comparing or compares ongoing administrative challenges to find better solution. It's about getting a better solution. Compare ongoing administrative challenge. So it's about comparing different administrative challenge in order to come up with what? Better solution. So more or less they are highly interrelated. So these are the 5 main, motivating factors. Comparative public administration also defined by Woodrow Wilson. He is one of the well-known public administrators or scholars. Woodrow Wilson, I think you know him. And he also defined public administration in this way. He defined by the definition by Woodrow Wilson as the study of administrative system across country and across culture. He defined comparative public administration as the study of what? As the study of administrative system. Especially he actually compare and contrast public administration in the United States with that of British. he make practical comparison using this factor in institution, that is the system, process, the procedure, decision-making procedures as well. So he focused on comparing the institution, process, and the decision-making. He identified the similarity, the difference, and the best practice by comparing public administration in United States with that of British United Kingdom. So this is Woodrow Wilson's. And this is all about the concept of comparative public administration. Now, let's go to the scope of comparative public administration. The scope, the area that comparative public administration touch. The area. As a student of public administration, what do you think the scope of comparative public administration? What area that comparative public administration touch? You can go like this. Comparative public administration is a part of what? Public administration. Therefore, the scope of public administration can be the scope of what? Comparative public administration. All the area that public administration touch can be touched by comparative public administration, because comparative public administration is a part of public administration. Do you agree with the statement? The way administration in unitarian totalitarian regime is the same as the administration operated in decentralized or liberal democracy. Do you agree on these ways? Is it the way that public administration operates in a democratic country is the same as that of non-democratic country? What do you think? What are the issue or the area covered in comparative public administration as a field of studies? So let us go to reflecting on this question. Let's go for today new person. Ndale. Katie Ndale. Who is Ndale? Let me hear from you. This person, I think I shared my screen. You read it, right? You can see it. Yeah, my screen is shared, right? Yeah, it's shared. Ndale. Shamsuddin. You missed the last class, Shamsuddin, right? Shamsuddin. You are muted in case if you are talking.
Yes, Dr. Hai.
Yeah, you can go ahead now.
Good evening.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Good evening, class.
Good evening, Shamsuddin.
What is the question, Doctor?
ከነዚህ ጥያቄዎች ውስጥ አንዱ ላይ ሪፍሌክት አድርግ. You can reflect in one of these questions.
አሁን ነው የገባሁትና ብዙም እንትን አላልኩም ነበር።
All right. Okay. So let's go to another person. Another person. ተመዝገን. ቃል ኪዳን የለችም ዛሬ። ተመዝገን. Blaine, where are they? Jonas, you can say something. There is no right and wrong. All what you say is okay, right? What I'm looking for is now your idea. Let me know your experience. Let me know your, initial knowledge concerning these issues. Brainstorming question. What do you think? ዘመን ጥላሁን, you can say something. I think you are not around, right? Is that the case? Let me know the case. Radiate. You can say something.
Okay, let me reflect on the third question.
Yes.
I think the important thing is that political systems and democratic institution The issues.
Yes, yes. Very good. Excellent.
Public.
Excellent. You are correct. Go ahead. Yeah, Alamnesh, let me hear from your side. Where about Gannet? What about Yehzbalem? Where are those peoples? Alamnesh, you can say something.
I think the same with Ashir.
All right.
What's his name?
Very good. Very good. Let me go for, yeah, more or less you will get an idea about this concept. Roots, you can say something.
Okay, so let me answer the first question. So the scopes that I understand is that they can share the administration system, how they manage their customers, how to manage their team, which is their employees, so they can use the human resource that are from the other countries, and then they can understand the political way with their. So I can mention 3 of this.
Excellent. Very good. It's good perspective. Always, that is what the brainstorming question. The way all see things is different, right? Everybody see things from different angle, and your engagement is good. So we learn from each other. Excellent. So now let's go to the scope of comparative public administration. These are all the scopes, the area that comparative public administration touch. Administrative system, democratic institution, political system, administrative control, and those things are some of the areas that we need to compare from, right? When we compare and contrast, we have to see things from this angle. So this is the perspective we compare public administration across different countries. We can see, for example, administrative system, how administrative system in Ethiopia work, how administrative system, for example, in Sudan work, how administrative system across culture, for example, how the administrative system in Benishangul Gumuz work, how administrative system in Addis Ababa work, what about in Redwa, those things, right? That is administrative system. This include compare system across different social, cultural, and geographical contexts. So we compare the system now. You see whether there is a difference in the system. What is the strength of this system X? What is the strength of system Y? What is the weakness of system X? What is the weakness of system Y? Comparing and contrasting, getting the best system. That is about standardizing the system. Then you recommend the best system for the policymakers to use it, right? Democratic institution. This one is examine success, failure, and application of democratic system. Democratic institution, we check the success, the failure, and the application of different democratic system. So we can compare and contrast public administration even from these aspects. Political system. This one is compare parliamentary and presidential system across countries. For example, if you want to make a political system, or if you want to see public administration from the political system, then you can take one country that follow parliamentarian. For example, Ethiopia is parliamentarian, right? Then another country which follow the presidential system. You can take, for example, America, US. They are following the presidential system. Then you can compare and contrast. Maybe, I don't know, in civic or ethical education related courses, you know about these things, the political system. So comparing this thing is very important. And then you come up which system is good. It is the parliamentarian system or the presidential system is good. So you can give your own justification or your own recommendation with justification. Administrative control. This is, you can check studies different method of controlling administration under various regions. Under administrative perspective or from the administrative scopes, you can see, the way the administrations control, the way, the administration, the public administration control. So study different method of controlling administration under different region, for example, under different political ideologies. So you can see these things as well. You can address, you can make comparison from this angle as well. Human resource management, how they manage their human resource, how they promote, how they hire, those things are very important. Then you can study, you can assess, you can examine, right? Welfare state administration. You can analyze how welfare policy are implemented in different environment. So when we say scope of comparative public administration, simply means the angle, the aspect that you need to address when you do comparative public administration. You can compare and contrast from these angles, from these areas. Government structure from this side, government structure, the steady roles of executive, legislative, and the judiciary across the system. You can do these things. You can study about these things in different country, in different, world, across different system. Power relation, examine separation of power and the check and the balance. International institution, local governance, policy analysis, interdisciplinary approach, global issue, and holistic perspective are some of the scope of comparative public administration. That means, in the simplest ways, scope of comparative public administration means it is the area that we need to, or we use when we make comparative public administration, the area that we need to see, or the area that comparative public administration touch. So this is the aspect. When we do comparative public administration, we can make from this aspect, from this angle, right? And then the very important one is, what is the reason that we need to do comparative public administration? I hope all of you can answer this question. What is the reason? What is the purpose of doing comparative public administration? What is the purpose? What is the relevance of comparative public administration for effective and efficient implementation of managerial activities? These are brainstorming questions. As usual, you need to reflect, and I hope most of you will answer this question, unless you have mic problem. We don't have Peter, we don't have the other guys as well, and only Kulang. Kulang is in library. Okay, let me give for maybe Almahi. Almahi, you need to say something. What is the purpose of doing comparative public administration? Purpose. What is the relevancy, the importance of doing comparative public administration? Anyone can answer this question, I believe. Debela, let me go for you. Stop. Debela, you can go for it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. I think in my opinion, the first thing is it's important that if we understand the comparative public administration system, we can learn easily from our why we failure and why we success. We can easily adopt it from the other countries. If you failure, for example, as you told us in previous, if you see the USA administration system and the British administrative system, they are very strong. So if we fail at some point of administration failures there, we can easily adopt it and learn from our failure and adopt it from the other countries.
Very good, excellent, perfect. You are correct. And more or less this one is like easy because it is the main issue that we are dealing. It is the purpose of comparative public administration. Here are some of the purpose of comparative public administration. One is development of administrative theories. This means we need to study how public administration work across different countries, across different culture, from different angles, in order to develop administrative theories, comparative public administration theories. Comparative study across country help develop generalization about administrative structure and behavior, then provide scientific base for public administration theories. It's not the theory that actually work in one country. It should be it is universal theories, the theory that can apply for different countries, more or less for different countries, right? The theory that actually understand what is going on in different world. It's not only in the Western world, it's not only in the other countries specifically, but it's a kind of universal. It is inclusive. So this is the first reason. The other reason is understanding administrative system, how things is going on, right? How the system is working. It helps us in understanding the unique characteristics of administrative system operating in different nations and culture. How the administrative system works in different culture, how the administrative system look like in different worlds. The unique characteristics, not the similarities, right? Unique administrative system in America, for example. What is the unique? Because now we know the status, economic development status of different worlds, right? We know the economic status of Western world. We know the economic status in Africa. We know the economic status in Asia. We know that things. That is basic information. Given that basic information, we can see unique characteristics of public administration in different countries. These things implies, or it has some kind of implication on the current economic status. You see, why we are poor? Yeah. So what do you think? Why we are poor, for example? Why developing countries are underdeveloped and advanced countries are advanced? What do you think? You can say many things. Why we are poor? I will share you one PowerPoint that talk about these things. Why we are poor? Why Africa is poor still? Why? It is because you can read many things. Because it is because of colonization. It is because of we don't have resources. It is because of we don't have government, good governance, government. It is because we are not democratic. There are many reasons that you can list out, but all of them are not the reason. The reason that we are not developed is something else. I will share you the PowerPoint and you will read it, okay? I will share with you. It will be a good experience. The other thing is explaining similarity and the difference. The other reason that we need to do comparative public administration, or the purpose of doing comparative public administration, is getting the similarities and the differences across the different world. What is the similarity? What is the difference? Learning from success and the failure of other countries. As Debela already mentioned, if public administration in the United States is, for example, succeed, then we can learn from them. It's okay, that thing is fine, right? That is very important. So one of the purpose of doing comparative public administration is for this reason. Adoption of best practice, supporting administrative reforms. That's also good, right? Looking how, for example, if for example, let's take one example, like when we reform our university, for example, Ethiopia Public Service University nowadays is on reform. Before this year, actually we focus on master degree and a PhD degree. And we don't have that much undergraduate class, but we have some undergraduate class for marketing management and accounting and finance are there already. But we have many now, like we have 29 undergraduate programs, 29. But before it is less than 5. And so we are on the process of reform. So when we actually start this reform, we learned first, we went for experience sharing in different worlds. In America, in Europe, and in different universities, right? Experience sharing. So we need to learn from them first, right? Therefore, doing comparative public administration is a stepping stone for administrative reform. If you find out the way you are doing, your administrative system has some kind of drawbacks or some kind of limitation, right? Then you can reform yourself. You can improve yourself. You see? Therefore, doing comparative public administrations support administrative reforms. It initiates that things. It initiates the reform. And the other one is evolution and the development of comparative public administration. Evolution. What do you think the remarking time for the development of comparative public administration? What is a turning time, turning point for the development of comparative public administration? Which event and or era contributed for the evolution of comparative public administration? I hope you will answer this question as well. I believe you can answer it. What do you think? What do you think the remarking time for development of the turning point? The turning point. Which events that happened in our world? Yeah, go Develi. Develi is like leading today.
ይሰማል?
Yes, ይሰማል.
Okay, I think it is post World War the Second.
Yes.
During that period, as we know, it created a crisis in different perspective.
Yes.
For example, in
Yes.
crisis, it's have.
Yeah, you are correct.
It created a lot of crisis.
Yes.
Especially in social crisis, economic crisis, but also it have a positive impact, especially for public administration perspective. It creates a positive impact. For example, the social plan. For example, there was a plan that called a march and a social new emerging at that time. So it's World War II.
Very good. Excellent. Is really good. Is good understanding as well. You are correct. Yeah, World War II is the turning point for the development of comparative public administration. People get exposure. Leaders get exposure. Leaders get a chance to examine. The first leaders that actually get the chance is Woodrow Wilson. He is one of the scholars and the leaders that actually compare and contrast public administration across different countries. He is the first person. And the turning point is, as you mentioned, it is World War II. So, post World War II, it is an origin for comparative public administration. So, World War II creates major political, economical, and administrative changes across the world for that matter. It creates a chance for these changes. Even in Africa, most African countries actually get independencies after this World War II in 1960s, in 1970s, and those time. You see, there is a political changes. There is also economic changes. Then also we have administrative changes during that time. And all these things create a pressure for that matters. So early comparative thinking just post World War II, early. So World War II actually ended in 1945, right? It's almost like 1945. It started in 1939 and the end is in 1945. So post World War II means after 1945. After 1945. Early comparative thinking, early 1945, like 1950, 1955, during those time, Woodrow Wilson compared the USA administrative system with that of the British executive system and highlight the structural difference. Now, leaders start to compare and contrast administrative system across the world, across the countries. So, early comparative thinking. Now leaders start to think, to compare and contrast. You see, they get the opportunity to do that, to think like that. Therefore, World War II give the opportunity for many leaders to know what's going on in different worlds, to judge. to see how they actually provide or respond to the public needs. They got that opportunity and now they start to do comparative analysis. The second, the need for new knowledge. Scholars and practitioners realized that traditional public administration theory did not match practical governance challenge. Now, different scholars, different researchers, different leaders understand that the old public administration theory cannot handle or fit governance challenge that during those time or during that period. Therefore, researchers began studying administrative system across countries, leading to the development of comparative public administration. This is how comparative public administration grow, or how comparative public administration develop. The origin is World War II. The turning point is that event. That event is the turning point. Then after that event actually give exposure for leader, world leader to know, to experience, or even to think how the other are doing, right? That thing in returns even motivates scholars, researcher, and policy maker, right? To think, to develop better policies, theories, right? Better public administration theories. And that is how comparative public administration starts. They start to explore, different world experiences. They start to find out the similarities and differences, unique characteristics of public administration across the world. And now they are developing these things, end up with developing comparative public administration, right? Why comparative public administration expanded after World War II? Why? Yeah, we already mentioned that. World War II is a turning point for comparative public administration. Why comparative public administration expanded after Second World War? Here are four main reasons. The first reason is post-war reconstruction. Post-war reconstruction. That means, those countries that actually causes for the Second World Wars to happen, even those countries that distract the others world, like for example, United States and the European country, actually destroy many countries, right? During that event, during Second World War. Then after they, for recovery period, during that recovery period, they actually plan for reconstruction. They give some kind of support, right? So the European countries needed a strong administrative system for rebuilding. There is a rebuilding plans, right? So they need what? A strong system in order to actually deliver that plan, rebuilding plan. That is post-war reconstruction. Post-war reconstruction is one of the reasons for the expansion of comparative public administration after Second World Wars. Because that plan by itself is demand very strong public administration. Because they are actually delivering that plan through whom? Through public administration. That weak public administration cannot carry that plan. Therefore, they are enforcing them. The European country enforced those developing countries to reform their public administration. For example, in Ethiopian context, nowadays, in order to get some kind of support from international monetary funds or World Banks, they actually recommend reforming the public institution we have, right? That is the criteria. The same is true during that plan. In order to actually get some kind of benefit from that plan, post-war reconstruction plan, they need to have a strong public administration. By itself, that plan demand that strong public administration. Therefore, now people start to learn lessons from other countries, right? They need to go to European country and they need to see how they are doing things. Then they are going to institutionalize the same public institution in their own country, right? That is one of the reasons that comparative public administration actually expanded. The other is Marshall Plan. The same thing is Marshall Plan. This is a plan from US. Large USA financial support required efficient administration and policy management, and that thing is enforce many developing countries and other world even to do some comparative public administration analysis and then learn some lesson and practice it in their own countries. The third reason is administrative reforms. Government recognized the need for modern administrative structure and principle. Government by itself, actually they recognized reform. They believe that it is good to reform or it is good to improve how they are doing things. Because they got exposure, you see, the main reason actually they start to recognize is this thing is due to the exposure that they get. Now world leaders actually start to talk to each other. Before World War II, I hope, the international relation issue is not that much. From the beginning, before World War II, from the beginning, many developing countries are under colonization and they are not considered as a country. You see, one change. And the other is like they don't have that, platforms. Even if we have, United States, right? UN, United Nations. Before that, there are also another institutions that actually, bring different leaders to make some kind of decision, but that institution is not that much strongest. Therefore, international leaders actually they don't have that international relation issues before World War II. You see, international relation issue actually get, they develop more after Second World War. Therefore, even Second World War is a turning point, not only for comparative public administration, even for international relations. And the other reason that's actually contribute for expansion of comparative public administration after Second World War is institutional support. That means organization like the Ford Foundation promoted research on comparative administrative system. There are some institutions, specifically Ford Foundation, actually support this idea of comparative public administration. Sometimes they even assign budget, sometimes they support researchers to do a research on comparative public administration. That support, the support that provided by Ford Foundation significantly contribute for the development of comparative public administrations. Therefore, comparative public administration became a systematic and scientific field of study after Second World War. Now, we have this institution, as I told you, Comparative Administration Group. This is a group that actually promotes about comparative public administration. Let us, briefly see what this Comparative Administration Group is. Actually, this institution or this group established in 1963 under the American Society for Public Administration and funded by that organization, Ford Foundation. The chair for that group was Riggs. As I told you, Riggs is one of the scholars that significantly contribute for comparative public administration. Riggs, he was a chair. What is the focus of this group? The focus of this group was promoted research and seminar on comparative administration system. It's about promoting research and seminar on issue related to comparative public administration. You see, what about the output from this group? Actually, establishment of these groups contribute for the production of 100 plus researches, monographs, and sponsored researches. You see, this is one of the outcome of this group, establishment of this group. Then what is like the legacy of this group? The legacy means something that's actually sustained for long period, even during this time. Launched the Journal of Comparative Administration. And nowadays, this journal is named as Administration and Society Journal. You can Google if you want. You can get journal that's named as Administration and Society. Actually, at the beginning, this journal established by whom? By this group, Comparative Administration Groups. Journal means it is a platform where different researchers publish their works, their research. And the key idea is that this group, Comparative Administration Group, helped institutionalize comparative public administration as a global field. So this Comparative Administration Group helps to institutionalize the concept of comparative public administration as a field at the international arenas. So the contribution is not, it is very high. They contribute too much for the development of comparative public administration. Through this history, comparative public administration experienced the decline as well as the revivals. The decline is happening in these ways. Many scholars believed general public administration was sufficient, reducing interest in comparative public administration. As the time goes, many scholars believe that the general public administration was enough. They don't want to conduct this comparative public administration. They are not interested. As the time goes, especially that happened in 1980s and in 1990s, scholars believed that, general public administration is enough. They are not interested to engage themselves in comparative public administration. These things cause for the decline of the comparative public administration. The focus now shifted to development administration during Cold War. I think you remember, after Second World War, we end up with another war that we commonly call it Cold War. Cold War. There is no visible wars as Second World War, but it's just they are just fighting through strategically, right? Through using economy or those things, right? Cold War. So the focus is shifted to development administration, not comparative public administration, development administration. So lack of strong theories and model in comparative public administration was also one of the reasons for the decline of comparative public administration. That's also another reason. Therefore, the decline of support from the comparative administration groups and reduced funding from the Ford Foundation is also another reason for the decline of comparative public administration in 1980s and in 1990s. In 1980s and the 1990s, this issue, comparative public administration, actually declined. Specifically, one of the reasons, out of many reasons, one of the reasons was comparative administration group. That group's support decline. This group support. Comparative administration group support decline, and that institution, Ford Foundation, is one of the institutions actually that provide budget and support for comparative public administration. Also reduced. The budget and the support reduced, and that thing is caused for the decline of comparative public administration. Then after, there is also revival. Revival means regrow or revitalize, regrow. Now, comparative public administration remain relevant for cross-national comparison of administrative system. Scholars still use comparative approach to better understand public administration. Hence, generally, interest declined. The interest to do comparative public administration declined the interest is declined, but comparative public administration remain an important analytical approach in public administration. Many scholars' interest to do comparative public administration declined. Many leaders to support doing comparative public administration declined. Their interest is declined, but still they are using it. Still, comparative public administration is very important. Doing that comparison still is very important. But the support declined, there is no funds, and that groups also do not support these comparative public administration ideas. You see, that is the history of the development for comparative public administrations. Now, today, contemporary comparative public administration direction. That means what is the main focus of comparative public administration during this time? The main focus. Nowadays, comparative public administration focus on or emphasize on good governance. How we can promote good governance by doing this comparative public administration. The main focus area for comparative public administration during this time, the direction or the interest area of comparative public administration during this time is digital governance and e-governance. Because nowadays the competition is about technology. Nowadays the revolution is about technological revolution. Therefore, comparative public administration direction go to what? Digital governance and e-government across different countries. Sustainable development and green administration. The contemporary comparative public administration direction or the recent, the modern comparative public administration direction is sustainable development and green administration. Public-private partnerships. You remember during new public management, public service was privatized, but post new public management come up with a new idea that we call it public-private partnership. The integration and the partnership of public and the private sector to provide public service. Therefore, contemporary comparative public administration direction is public-private partnerships. The other one is decentralization and local governance. And the other one is focus on human resource development, data-driven decision-making, citizen-centered administration, globalization and international cooperation, reform and innovation are some of the contemporary comparative public administration direction. This means it is the focus area. The focus area of modern comparative public administration are all these things. You understand? The focus area. They are interested to compare and contrast public administration from this angle. The focus area is this one. So you have to read those focus area. There are 10 focus area that the modern or contemporary public administration or comparative public administrations focus on. Now here, we have individual written assignment. The deadline is March 8th. You can get these things from your reader. I will also share this. I have already shared this PowerPoint. So make sure that you submit this individual assignment by April 8th. How you submit? You need to submit it by link. I will share you the link that you will submit your assignment on that link. So this is individual assignment and you need to do these things individually. Today also I will give you a group assignment. I think you have your own groups and then you need to do your work through your group and we will have some kind of presentation. So you have to do it in group and then you have a group presentation. We will do these things in class. Now, approach to comparative public administration. The last subtopic in this chapter is approach to comparative public administration. Approach to comparative. Approach means still from what angle that we are doing comparative public administration, from what approach, or it is the way we do comparative public administration. What is the importance of studying about approach of comparative public administration? What approach to comparative public administration you are more familiar? What are the significant difference among the approach to comparative public administration? So I'm going to give you 2 minutes. 2 minutes to read either the module or the PowerPoint, the PPT that I have shared you already, and try to get answer for this question. 2 minutes. In 2 minutes, what you do? Then I will ask randomly. I need to get answer from all of you. Right? Read this question first. Go to the PowerPoint. I think get familiar with what is written in the PowerPoint, and then I come back and then I will ask randomly, and then you will answer it. So 2 minutes. Now the time is, is almost, time is running, right? So you have 2 minutes. All right, let us continue. So let me get answer from your side on this question. Let me get answer from your side. What do you think? Who can answer? Who can try it? Let's go for Ruth.
Okay, so for the first one, what is the importance of studies about the approach of the comparative public administration? So I think there are three important things. So the first one is the historical approach, and the cultural approach, and then structural approach. When we see the historical approach, we can understand about the history, culture, and social economy change on how it shaped the public administration systems. And then when we come to the cultural approach, we can see the organizational behaviors, administrative participation, and the public policies. So on the structural, when we come to the culture, the structural, we can see then how government structure performs on the government, the public administrations.
Excellent, very good, very good. Let me go for another person. Alamnesh, what do you think? You can respond to one of these questions. Alamnesh.
Okay, doctor. Theories and frameworks and contractual understanding, political reformers, I think.
All right, very good, very good. Let me go for another person. Who can try? You can raise and try. Devela, what do you think? Devela, let's go for you. You can try. Devela. What about Shamsuddin? Shamsuddin.
Yes, doctor.
Yeah, you can answer one of these questions.
I can try for first one. She help us understanding how different countries manage government system.
Very good, very good. All right, let us continue. Let us go. It's good tutorials. So what you do after this class, after this lecture as well, you need to read it a little bit, and then you come to this brainstorming question and you need to judge yourself. It's very excellent anyhow. It's very good. Here, historical approach. We have different approach to public administration, for that matter, comparative public administration. Historical approach, cultural approach, structural approach, and institutional approach, and I think there are 5 in number. Historical approach. The first one is historical approach. Here the focus is understanding how history, how culture, how socio-economic change shape public administration system. By the way, history is very important. It's said like this: if someone who does not learn from history condemned to repeat it. We need to learn from history. Learning history is very important, because if your history is good, you can learn from it. If there is some kind of failure, we need to learn from it as well. We don't need to repeat the same problem, right? History is very important. So the key feature under historical approach is evolution of the institution. We have to see how the system developed, historical impact of that institution. For example, colonization is an institution. Independence is also an institution. That is a system by itself, so that we can explore the impact of that event. You see, that's very important. Continuity and the change, how administrative system adapts to over time. So those things are very important. And here are some of the contribution of historical approach. Some of the contribution of historical approach of doing comparative public administration. The first one is it offers deep insight into the root of administrative system. Deep insight. It helps when we study the history or historical approach. When we follow the historical approach, it helps us to understand from the grassroots, from the beginning, the system, those things. So one of the contribution of historical approaches, it offers deep insight into the root of administrative system. You understand? That is the first contribution. The second contribution, it helps in understanding the context-specific nature of public administration. Because we study historical approach, we are going to see each event at each specific, place or country. Those things help us to understand context-specific nature of public administration. Context-specific, right? That's also another contribution of historical approach of public administration. The third contribution is facilitate better planning and reform by learning from the history. As I told you, we don't need to repeat the same problem. Therefore, it helps us to plan and conduct reform, better plan and better reforms. That is the contribution of historical approach. What about the contributor? Scholar that contributes for development of historical approach. We have like 5 scholars. Pasilio, for example, is the first scholar. He is the father of accounting, double entry bookkeeping, foundation for systematic cost recording. The first scholar. What about the second scholar? Adam Smith. I think you know Adam Smith very well. He is the father of economics. Adam Smith's economic theories emphasized cost measurement and efficiencies. Another one is industrial revolution innovator. There are different group of scholars that actually categorized under industrial revolutions. Those people or those scholars also contribute too much on historical approach of comparative public administration. They developed systematic costing method, including cost plus approach. Henry Rand Hatfield, this scholar also contribute on linked cost accounting to managerial decision making. William, advanced cost plus pricing in manufacturing and government contracts. So these are some of the scholars that actually contribute for historical approach. What about the limitation of historical approach? Limitation of historical approach. The first limitation is over-reliance on historical data may ignore current reality. Sometimes focusing too much on historical approach is not a good, because if we depend too much on historical data, we may ignore current realities, because something that happened 100 years ago, actually the realities, the situations during that time is completely different from this time. Therefore, that situations cannot may not help the current situation 100%, right? We can learn some lesson, but depending too much on the past history is not good. Second one is difficult to generalize finding across different contexts. Yeah, sometimes you see one of the benefit is here, like context specific nature of public administration. That is good. We can understand context specific nature of public administration, but generalizing that thing is not an easy task because that is specific, context specific, and it may not work for generals. So generalizing may be difficult. That is the limitation. The second one is cultural approach. Second approach is cultural approach. Here, understanding how administrative practice, organizational behavior, public policy different across culture. Now it's about across different culture, how administrative practice, how organizational behavior differ, how public policy differ. And when we say cultural approach, we see or we conduct comparative public administration across different culture, and we see or we examine how administrative practice, organizational behavior, public policy different from culture to culture. It has 4 key features. The first one is we do cross-national comparison. The second feature is we do cross-cultural comparison. The third one is we can also do cross-temporal analysis across time. When we say cross-temporal, we do this comparative analysis across time. This one compare across historical period. For example, we can study ancient Rome with modern Italy. You see, during those times, there are a difference, right? If we want to compare public administration across time, right? Across time, we can use this approach, cross-temporal analysis, right? What is the purpose of this cultural approach? The purpose of this cultural approach is to understand how culture shape administration. How, for that matter, culture determine public administration. That's the obvious things. If we want to understand how culture determine administration, we have to follow cultural approaches, right? So culture strongly influence how government operate and how policy actually applied. The contributor for cultural approach are here. So I will give you this as an assignment to read. The third approach is named as structural functional approach. This thing is related to how the government structure affects the way we do comparative public administration. So structural functional approach, and the name indicates there are 2 things. Structure is there, function is there. The structural functional approach. The focus is like this. It examines how government structure perform function to meet societal needs. How the government structure perform function. So the focus area is this one. The key point, there is a structure, there is a function, and there is variation as well. Variation of what? Variation, structure may perform function differently across countries. So the structure is, when we say the structure, this is the standardized pattern of administrative activity. The structure is the pattern of administrative activity. Function is role, such as political function, economic function, social function, and those things. So here is the major contributor, RICS. RICS is the major, as I told you, when we talk about comparative public administration, the main contributor is RICS. So you need to consider these things. RIG is the main scholar that actually contribute too much significantly for the growth of comparative public administrations. And the contributor of structural function approach, there are many contributors here with their key ideas. Let me give you this thing as a reading assignment. And the fourth approach is behavioral approach. Behavioral approach. Here, this theory actually emerged during 1950s and the 1960s. So the behavioral revolution after Second World War, shifting focus from institution and the structure to human behavior in administration. Before Second World War, actually the main agenda was the kind of institution and the structure. Now the agenda after Second World War, the agenda is shifted to human behavior. Human behavior actually determine administration too much. The productivity, the efficiency, the effectiveness of that institution actually mattered or influenced by human behavior. The behavioral approach rooted in the human relation movement. When we have seen about public administration theories, one of the public administration theories, one is behavioral approach theory, the other one is human relation theories, right? I think you have to review that things in chapter 1. This behavioral approach rooted in human relation movements. And here it emphasizing the importance of people in an organization. The behavioral approach actually, emphasize the importance of people in an organization, the behavior of the people. That thing matter a lot for the productivity, for efficiency, for effectiveness, for everything. The behavior of human or the people in that organization matter a lot. So the behavioral approach study individual and the group behavior in administrative setting as a part of behavioral science. Use the behavioral approach, use scientific and empirical methods such as observation, survey and statistics, and field researches. So the focus on factors like attitude of the people, motivation, leadership, value, and decision making to improve administrative effectiveness. In order to improve administrative effectiveness according to behavioral approach, we need to focus on attitude of the people or the worker in that organization, the motivation, leadership, value, and the decision making. As you see, this picture is related to the behavioral approach. I think you remember these issues in biology courses when we were in grade, I think 10 or grade 12. This is a kind of experiment related to stimulus. Here, this dog actually stimulates when she see this food. So, food is one of the stimulus for these dogs. But this ring is not a stimulus for these dogs. But here, under the experiment, during conditioning, actually, that scientists actually give the food for this dog after this ring bell, right? After this ring, after these things, right? Then, even if there is no food here, if this ring bell, right? Actually, the dog stimulates. You see, there is some kind of here. So even this ring become a stimulator for the dog. Before experiment, there is no stimulus here. The dog is normal. But here, even if there is no food, the dog actually stimulates. Because this is related to the behavioral approach. This is not directly related to, this is more or less, it is a core that we get familiar with in biology courses about these issues, but actually it's related to behavioral approaches. So behavioral approach promotes the behavior of the people in that organization, not only the institution, not only the structure, not only the bureaucracy. What matters is how we value the behavior of the employees in that organization in order to promote effectiveness, efficiency, and productivity in that organization. Contributor of the behavioral approach, the scholar that actually contribute, they are here, and let me give this thing as an assignment. The last approach for comparative public administration is legal or institutional approach. This one examines legal frameworks, constitutional provisions, and institutional structure in public administrations. How those legal framework determine or affect public administrations. So this one analyzes how laws and regulations shape administrative process and organizations. So more or less legal or institutional approach, as you see from this picture, this approach deal about how the legal framework determine the administrative process and organization. The contribution of the legal approach are here. Actually, it provides a clear framework for analyzing administrative authority and responsibility. It helps in understanding legal constraint and protection affecting public official and citizens. These are some of the contribution of legal approach for the development of comparative public administrations. But it has also some limitation. The first limitation is that overemphasis on law may ignore informal practice, custom and cultural factor. It's not good too much or emphasizing too much on the legal or institutional approaches. If we actually focus too much on the legal and institutional approaches, we may ignore informal practice or custom and cultural factor, and even it become a kind of rigid. It causes for rigidities. Therefore, depending too much, we have to understand the situation, the informal communication, and those customs, those culture, those behavior should be also considered. The other limitation of legal approach is that legal system can be complex and difficult to compare across countries. Right? Another limitation of this legal approach to comparative public administration is that legal system is too much. It's also very complex, and doing comparative public administration is very difficult. So these are some of the limitations of legal approach. In general, the above approach to comparative public administration have evolved from descriptive and historical to analytical, behavioral, and developmental. So far we have seen 5 approaches to public administrations. Some of them are very descriptive and historical. Now, like in general, the above approach to comparative public administration have evolved from descriptive and historical to analytical and behavioral and developmental. Those 3 things, out of those 5, the last 3 are more advanced. The first one is cultural, the second one is historical. The first one is historical, the second one is cultural. Those things are more or less descriptive and historical. They are not deep, but the other 3 are more advanced. So each approach offers unique insight, and modern comparative public administration often use multi-approach frameworks. So the conclusion is like this. All of them has strong side and as well as weak side. They have strength and weakness. So when we come to modern comparative public administration, actually modern comparative public administration use multi-approach. It's not only one approach, rather multi-approach. Actually a combination of all approaches. Right? You can maximize the strong side from all approaches. So the modern comparative public administration maximizes the strong side of those approaches and uses multi-approach. Not only one approach, not only historical approach, not only cultural approach, not only behavioral approach, not only institutional approach, not only structural and functional approach, but a combination of those approaches. That is a good side of modern comparative public administrations. And here is the final group assignment. What you do, you are going to do this activity, case studies in group. I think I got group list from accounting and finance classes. I need to get a list of groups from the other program, that is marketing management students. And so you have to do this assignment in group. This is group assignment. So what you do, you need to read this instruction over here, and you have to do it in group, and then I will also give you a link to submit your group works. And then also you have a group presentation. You have a group presentation, not only submitting the document, but also you need to be ready for the presentation. We will see or we'll discuss the detail about these things, about those things, about the presentation and the deadline for submitting this activity. I will share you the link and those information through Telegram. So this is the end of chapter 2. This is the end of chapter 2. As I told you, for chapter 3, I think, you will, another professor or another teacher will come, and therefore another teacher will teach chapter 3. It's not with me. I will come, I think in chapter 4 is about, more or less, I will teach public administration courses, a course that's related to public administration, international relation, and global trend. Another teacher will teach you. Therefore, chapter 3, next week, you will contact another teacher. So, class representative, please get the phone number of the other professor and contact him. So, I will come on, I think, chapter 4. So, if you have any question, comment, or suggestion, now it's time for you. It's time for question, comment, or any suggestions. Is it everything is clear? So far, everything is clear?
Yes, doctor.
All right. Thank you very much. As I told you, I'm recording this thing as well. So I will share you the record, and even you can rewatch it in case if it's not clear, or if someone missed this session as well, they can watch and they can get familiar with what we have seen so far. As I told you, just read the PowerPoint first, try to understand from those things, and watch also the video again. And also you have to read the modules and the textbook. If it's not clear, okay, if you have any questions, you can call me or you can contact me in my office and we can discuss on it. So thank you very much for coming to, or attending today's sessions. Thank you.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you, doctor.
All right.
Good night.